version. It's not new anymore because it was introduced in version 6, I presume. It's called synchronous replication. Okay, now what is a replication? Basically, it's a point in time process that is conducted between two groups. Often the two groups are located in different location or even different region. This is to protect against issues on the primary side, either due to hardware failure or disasters such as floods, hurricane or earthquake, and things like that. Okay, so this particular features is again free of charge, or it's part of the EqualLogic bundle, so you don't need, or it's enabled by default. Okay, so what is asynchronous replication? So it actually uses a snapshot technology as well in the background. Okay, you need to have, with asynchronous replication, you need to have two different group. One group in here and the other group on a different region or location. You can have a normal, Cat6 or SFP plus connection between the two sides, or you can have IP connectivity like WAN between these two. And then to improve performance, you can have WAN optimizer in here. Now, a replication is, again, that's a purpose for DR, okay? And then you will see in here, there are a couple of replication model. The common one is one-way replication, which means you have a primary site, then you only have your secondary site. So it's you have a source volume, and it will create a replica volume. The next method is what we call a reciprocal replication, which is a two-way replication. So, for example, you have a main site in Australia, in Sydney, and then secondary site in Manila. Then you can have your volume in Sydney replicating to Manila and vice versa from Manila to Sydney. Okay, so in case site in Sydney's has some issues, then we can bring up that particular volume in Manila. Now, the other option as well is you can have what we call a centralized replication, where multiple sites send a replication to a secondary DR site. So in this example, you have group in London, in Geneva, in Houston, and then possibly it's going to different regions, such as going to Manila, different different location in case something happens in Europe or in America. Production is still can run from Asia. Okay, so that's the typical topology that EqualLogic can support. Okay.
Is it limited to group numbers or member numbers still?
What do you mean by that?
Like moving different pools and things like that. Is it going to impact?
No. So EqualLogic replication is a volume based. So you don't replicate a pool, you don't replicate a member, you actually replicate a volume.
Okay.
So you have a multiple pool in here, such as this example in here, right? You have two pools.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have a volume sits in this pool, right, you can replicate to this destination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you you have a volume in here, then you can replicate to this pool in here. Now, the only difference is starting with version 8, you can actually set up delegated space in multiple pool. Previously, you can only do it in one single pool. All right, so that's the only difference. Okay, so with asynchronous replication, it's using TCP/IP. Okay, so there is no technical distance limitation. However, of course, with a longer distance, a higher latency, that means most likely you will have your application going longer. Okay. Again, I already mentioned replication occurs at the volume level. You can schedule your replication, okay? And then you can set up how many replica you going to keep on the DR side. And lastly, you can have a replica set, which is you can have multiple volume being replicated at the same time. Okay. So that's the only that's the options available for you. Next, we talk about the replication speed. So again, this number T1, T3, OC3, this is a typical American measurements. So we probably I'm not sure about the Philippines, but in Australia we don't use T1, T3. We just use in megabits per second. Okay, so T1 is equal to 1.5 megabits per second. If we have a 10 gig um, uh, changes uh, happening on a volume, then it takes about 16 and a half hours to actually complete their application. Okay, so again, this is it's not a final number. You probably can have variation, depends on latency as well. Okay, so this is how replication happens. First, before you start your replication, you need to create partnership. Okay, so you can see from the previous diagram, you have two groups. You need to create partnership. So you need, just imagine before you can probably work together with your friends, you need to make a friendship first before you start trading stuff, right? Same thing with Ecologic. You create your partnership, okay? After you create your partnership, then you can begin your transfer, okay? Now, the transfer will start with 100% of the volume. Okay, so you can imagine you have a volume in here, 100 gig. Then it will 100% copied across to your DR as 100 gig. And after that, the subsequent replication will only will only transfer the delta files, which is the changes. Okay. Now, for replication to happen, you need to have a delegated space. All right. So in here, you have a primary site called group West. Okay. If you want to do a replication to group called East, you need to set up what we call a delegated space for replication in group East. oh sorry, in group, in group West, in group East, for the purpose of group West. So you can replicate log volumes to there, SQL volumes to there. Okay. Now, in this example, right, I have a volume called VR. VR size is 100 gig, but the in-use space is actually 20 gig. Okay. And then I have the replica reserve as 200 gig. Okay, so the delegated space that it needs on the DR side is actually 200 gig times 200%. Okay.
That's
Why?
the normal sizing for calculation for replica reserve, right?
Yes, that's correct.
200%.
You can change it. Depends on how much changes happens on your volume, and it depends how many replica you want to keep.
Okay.
Okay, by default, it's by default is 105, I think. Let me just bring it up.
It will consume another space if you're going to twice.
So is this because the reserve is for snapshots and things like that? Is that?
No, nothing to do with snapshots. So this is totally related to replication.
Yeah.
So replication reserve and snapshot reserve is two different reserves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the minimum is, like I mentioned, is 105%, but the reserve by default is 200%. So that's the typical configuration. You can increase it to 1000% if you want to keep multiple replica.
So, so the reserve is there for
Keeping your replica.
separate replicas, like a
Yes.
new replica, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So there's a question.
Sort of similar to how we did snapshots, how you add on to the snapshot.
Correct.
There's a reserve for that. You're doing a reserve for the replica.
Yes.
Okay.
So in here, after you allocate 200%, you basically you basically guarantee 200% of your 20 gig for your replication.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing can touch it.
Okay.
Now the next is if you have another volume called VR. VR in use is 100 gig, and then you set up your replica reserve as 200%, which means it will utilize 200 gig. It just guarantee 200 gig. Now you have another volume called FS volume. Okay.
Yeah.
So the VR or the volume reserve is 200 gig, but the in use is 150 gig. Okay, and then you have your replica reserve set as 200%. If we calculate that, that means it needs about 300 gig on your delegated space. That means you are 40 gigabyte short. Okay, When that happens, then EQLogic will give you warning saying that there is not enough delegated space.
Question, sir.
Yes.
Okay, with regards to the allocation for the delegated space, is this the first thing that we need to consider before uh, provisioning for a replication? So
That is correct.
do we have sizing tool to determine what how much capacity we're going to allocate for this delegated space reserve in order for us to not encounter this kind of insufficient space?
Okay, good, very, very good questions. So the first question is, do we need to allocate this space first? Yes, we need. Okay, so this space, you need to configure this when you configure the partnership. So you set up your delegated space. Okay. Now, the second question is there any particular sizing tool so I can calculate how much space I need to delegate for a particular volume? The answer is no, there is no sizing tool available from Dell. However, what you can do is you can try to find out the changes happens on a particular volume after you do the first replication, because um, the sizing tool is going to be hard. Just imagine you have a volume that you want to set up, you know, such as doing replication every day, right? And then every day that particular volume change around 10 gig. But if you configure your application to run every 12 hours, then you potentially need to have only 5 gig space, okay, to keep one replication. Because every 12 hours, that 5 gigs going to be overwritten by another replication. Okay, so that makes the sizing tool quite complex. But as soon as you do your first replication, you should be able to know how much space you need. Is that answer your question, Richard?
Okay, so let's say I encounter this kind of scenario wherein I have lack of space for my delegated space. So what's
Mhm.
the first thing that we need to do, and in order for us to continue the replication process?
Okay, so a couple of things you can do. First, of course, buying more space. So you buy another EqualLogic, and then add that into your pool, and then you can expand your delegated space. That's the first option.
Okay.
Second, the second option is to increase your delegated space. So in case you have 2 terabyte in this example, right? And then you use 2 terabyte as your volume reserve. You can delete the volume and then increase your delegated space. That means you can continue doing your application as soon as you increase your delegated space.
Okay.
The third option is to reduce the amount of replica you want to keep. So if, for example, uh, you want to keep lesser than 10 or 20, you can actually reduce the delegated space. So it's enough to store one instead of two. Okay. The second or the last option will be the simplest one is to remove one of your volume so it don't use the delegated space.
Okay.
So
What are
that's
the limitations of doing that to 105%?
sorry.
If you changed it to rather than 200, but as the minimum is 105, what's
Yeah.
the limitation?
What's the limitation is you can only have 5% changes.
And would it delete other changes? Is that
Okay, we have a question in here. What if we leave it as 105% delegated space? Okay, so the first action that we will do, it will try to borrow from free space.
okay?
Okay. However, if the free space is not available, then it will complain.
Ah.
Right. So this is the normal requirements to create a partnership. So during the firmware upgrade slides, we can see that which firmware is supported. So you can have a firmware 6 replicating to firmware 7. That's fine. And make sure you have network connectivity between the two groups. The network connectivity means in here is iSCSI. Okay. So EQLogic is replicating using iSCSI network. It's not replicating using the management network. Third, is make sure you have free delegated space. Okay? If you want to have just primary going to DR, you just need delegated space in DR. But if you want vice versa, that means you need delegated space on both groups. Okay. This sort of scenario is important when you have SRM configured. Anyone know what SRM is? No? Okay. SRM is stands for Site Recovery Manager. It's a product from VMware where it introduced what we call there is no downtime situation when you have an EQLogic. So, for example, you have a VM running on your primary site. Okay, you can promote your VM to DR, and then there is a host in here. It will automatically connect that particular VM to your host.
Okay, sir, a few questions about the requirements. So,
Yes.
did we tackle local reserve versus the replica reserves?
Okay. So in regards to local reserve, right? That reserve can be borrowed from free space.
Okay.
Okay, because the local replica reserve is the purpose is to hold any changes during transfer from primary to DR.
Okay, so the meaning the local reserve is basically a space from the primary storage, while the replica reserve is the space that you need to allocate for your DR partner storage.
That is correct.
Okay, I think I get it.
Okay, so the local will probably go back to here.
Because we need
Okay, this is
on the sizing once you configuring our application, basically
yep.
you'll be asked for the local reserve space if your storage has enough space or and then after you'll be asked also for a replica reserve. So that two terminologies might confuse us. Uh,
Yep.
so I hope you understand that.
Yep. Sure. Okay, so let me repeat it again. So you will have a local replica reserve in here, which is sitting in your primary. And then you have what we call a delegated space in here. All right. Now, the local replica reserve in here is to hold changes during replication. So, for example, you have replication happens at 10 o'clock, right? And then you have, let's say, 30 gig of changes. At 10 o'clock, what's going to happen is it will take a snapshot, right? And then replication will happen from that time, from the 10 o'clock until it's finished. From 10 o'clock until, let's say, 11 o'clock, because it normally takes about an hour, right? All the changes on this particular volume, because you have a host in here, right? It's gonna be stored inside local reserve. When replication is finished, from here to here, right? All the snapshot is gonna be deleted. This is, again, it's hidden. And then it will be committed to the primary volume in here. So that's the purpose of the local replica reserve.
I get it now.
Yep, is that clear,
So
Richard?
then what happens?
So what's the percentage of storage for allocation for local reserve? So is it 100% or do we need some certain criteria like you need to multiply it according to the how many the change the percent of delta change?
Okay, very good questions there. Basically, it depends on how long it takes for you to perform your volume replication from your primary site to your DR. And then how much data that's changed during that time. Okay, so for example, you're doing your replication at nighttime around 10 o'clock, and then no one actually using that volume, you probably don't need a high amount of local replica reserve because not much change around 10 o'clock during your finishing your replication. But if you're doing it daytime where everyone is making changes, sending emails out and things like that, that means you probably need bigger local replica reserve. So that is the calculation that you need to do when calculating local replica reserve. Is that answering your question?
Okay.
Can we increase the delegated space reserve?
Uh, which one? This one?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Definitely you can. So, for example, in here, okay, I have a replication configured already, and then I have a delegated space configured, right? This is for inbound volume replication. So I can manage my delegated space. I can increase it in here.
Okay.
And then this is where you set up multiple delegated space in multiple pool. You can actually increase and decrease your delegated space live. As long you can decrease as long as that delegated space is not being used, of course. Okay. Sorry, what's your question?
It's sort of like Scratch video or Scratch space. So you're putting the amount so that you can actually put a replication there. And then you need that extra space to be able to copy
Mm-hmm.
the next set of data.
Yeah.
So that's space so that you've got, that's where you can add on to it. And then that one will get deleted. And
Yeah.
then we'll move into that space and then it
Yeah.
frees up the space. So
Okay.
I
So
get it now. Yeah.
so that is this delegated space part.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
so if you're looking at this, right? Let me just clear this ink here. As soon as you set up your replica reserve in
Yeah.
here, right? You basically pre-allocated 40 gigabit or 40 gigabyte space to hold your replication.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't use all 40 gig, that's good.
Yeah.
But if you need more, then you need to change this.
So if people have added more data to it during the day, so then it turns into 60. Then,
It will increase automatically
yeah.
because of this.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So we have a question in here is originally the VR in use is 20 gig, right in here. However, during the day, people are writing to that volume. So that 30 to 20 gig volume becomes 30 gig. So what's going to happen with the replica reserve? Of course, it will increase because of this calculation. Okay, so we'll see in here. Right. The total replica reserve is the percentage of replica volume reserve. Now the volume reserve is 105 megabyte in here. Then your replication partner 200% becomes 210 megabyte. Okay. So in case your volume reserve is increased, of course this one will increase as well, following this rule in here. Do you have any other questions, Richard?
So for, do you have questions? None.
Clear?
Yep.
Okay.
Double check.
I'll just.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay. So this is how we create the partnership before we can start the replication. So click on the replication tab, configure partner, and then you will see the partner wizard. What you need to do, you need to put the group name. Again, group name is case sensitive, okay? So make sure you put the right uppercase and lowercase. Next is you put your group IP address. The remaining part is not really important, okay? You can either fill it out for your admin purposes or you can just leave it blank. After that, you create your inbound and outbound password. This password basically for authentication purposes only. You can make this as simple as you want, or you can match it with your GRP admin password. It doesn't really matter as long as both groups are using the same passwords. Okay. So this password basically for you to accept inbound replication. This is to perform outbound replication. So I normally use the same password for inbound and outbound. Next, there are options whether you want to do volume replication or you want to do NAS replication. So what is the difference between the two? First, the volume replication refers to ecologic volumes. With NAS replication, it refers to FS or fluid FS replication. So if you don't have fluid FS, then just enable the volume replication. Next, where do you want to store your where do you want to have your delegated space into? So in here, this particular customer, they have 4 pools. Okay, so you can pick which pool you want. Again, this is only applies to V8. In V7, you don't have this option. You can only set up one delegated space. This is really useful for SRM purpose, because what SRM does is this. Okay, so you have 2 pool in your production. You have 1 pool in DR. Okay, so previously in version 7, you can only have delegated space in here and in here. Okay, this is delegated space. If you have a volume sits in here, what's going to happen is it will go to this delegated space, right? Then you can mount this volume to your host in here. However, when you do what we call a failback, by default, EQLogic will do it to here. Because of that, replication will fail, or failback will fail. Okay, so if you want to set up a pre-version 7, you need to have all, it only support a single pool to single pool. You cannot have a situation like this. With version 8, on the other hand, you can do that. You can have delegated space in here and in here. So when you're doing a failback, it can go back to here. Right, then after that, it's just a summary, how you basically it tells you how you configure your application, and then just click finish. Okay, then starting from version 7, you have the ability to test your partnership. Okay, this is really good if you want to know whether you can communicate, or the EQLogic can communicate between the 2 groups. Now, first, remember, you need to create this partnership on both groups, okay? When you first created your partnership on your primary, right, this test partnership will most likely gonna fail, right? After you create your second partnership from your DR and you do a test partnership, then it will say all okay. So don't expect when you first set up your partnership, it will say, all good. Okay, it's not going to work because you haven't actually create the relationship between these 2 groups. So this is how you configure your application. It's quite easy. Again, EQLogic only support replication on the volume level. So what you need to do is just right click, configure replication. And after that, you have the option to set up your reserve on your partner and then your local reserve to hold your changes. Again, you can allow to use free pool space. I will always allow this tick box, okay? Because eventually, as soon as the replication is finished, then the space will be back available for in your pool. Then this is the option to keep failback. What is a failback? Failback basically allows you uh, to reduce the amount of replica when you're doing a failback scenario. So let me explain it in a nice picture. So if you have a production array and then you have a DR. You have a volume in here and then it's 10 gig. Okay? And then you're doing replication to your DR, 10 gig. Then you're making some changes. It becomes 11 gig. Now, when you're doing a failback of this particular volume to your production, instead of it's replicating the whole 11 gig, it only replicating 1 gig, which is the changes. Okay, so that's what we call a keep failback snapshot. So in here, it will create a hidden snapshot that tracks all the changes happening on your DR. And then when you want to do a failback, it's just copying the changes.
Because usually it deletes it, is that right?
Yeah. Okay, and then you just hit summary, just to review, make sure you do everything correctly, then finish. And then you have the option to perform manual replication. Okay, so we will discuss MTU on the next slide. All right, if you don't tick this box, it will perform replication straight away. All right, so how to see your replication? What you need to do is click on the replication tab. Okay. This is incorrect. It's not supposed to be monitoring because monitoring doesn't have this information. You need to click the replication tab in here, okay? This box is incorrect. So if you click or highlight the replication tab, expand on the outbound replicas, then you will see your replication. Okay, so in here you will see that it says in progress, and then there is 0 replicas. Right. So you can see information. Again, you need to click the replication tab. Okay, you can see the replication progress on both sides of the equal logic, either the primary group, which is the sender group, and the DR group, which is the receiving group. So for the sending group, you can see it from the outbound because it's sending out. In the receiving group, you will see it in inbound because it's actually incoming replication from your primary. Okay, so this is where you can see replication on both DR and production. This is the steps to create snapshot replication using a replica schedule. Okay. So you need to choose your volume, and then you create schedule. This is similar to when you create your schedule for your snapshots. Okay. And then instead of you choosing snapshot schedule, you pick replication schedule. Then you pick the frequency. Either you want to run it once, hourly, daily, or reuse existing schedule. Okay. In this, we use the existing schedule. Okay, so you can just pick one if you want, or you can create your own. This is the starting time. When you want to start the replication, you can schedule, probably start the replication over the weekend, because that's the less busy operation, as you know, because weekends no one use the computer, right? So you want us to start kick off the first replication on Friday night, exactly at 12 a.m. You can configure it in here. Okay, then you can put the subsequent schedule. All right, so in here you have your repeat interval, whether it's going to happen every hour or every day, and then you can put, you probably want replication to happen till Monday only, for example. Okay. And then this is the replica settings. How many replica you want to keep on your DR? Right, similar to snapshots. And then finally, it's just a summary where you just need to review all your configuration. All right. Any questions? No? Okay. So we'll move on to a tool called manual transfer utility. So if we go back to the previous slides, we have the option in here to create manual replication. Okay, what manual replication means is, if you, for example, don't have enough bandwidth between your primary and DR, you can use an external hard drive or a USB thumb drive to carry your first replication. Okay, so if, for example, you only have 1.5 Mbps, okay, between your primary and remote site. So, and that volume is not change a lot. You probably, change about 2 or 200 meg per 12 hours. Okay, but that volume is quite enormous. Let's say 1 terabyte, because that particular volume has been used for many years. So to help you and perform the first replication, what you can do is you can use the MTU and then take the first replication in an external hard drive, bring it to your remote site, and then extract it. Okay, so you can use this or tape or whatever media you have. Again, this is free license or license available from EQLogic. What you need to do is just download from the EQLogic support website, there is a tool integrated, and you can use MTU straight away.
Can I use multiple disks?
You don't, as far as I know. Yeah. Okay, so this is the WAN network replication. Just a picture. And this is where you download your MTU, sorry. Okay. So this is how you do manual replication. Use manual transfer utility. Okay, perform manual replication, and it will prompt you for the tool. Yeah. And then it will say start data copy. Right? And then you have the option to compress, verify, encrypt.
Sir, what's the terabyte capacity of that manual transfer utility?
There is no limit. It just depends on your storage.
No, what I mean is that this just manual transfer utility is just like a portable media, right? That you need to plug into your external to your ecologic array, right?
No. So the manual transfer utility actually is software.
Okay.
Okay, it's a let's say it's a plugin you install on your server, where it has directly attached to your EcoLogic. So it needs to have iSCSI communication. Okay, in here. Now, after that, you can plug in. Sorry. You can plug in a USB device or a hard drive, external hard drive, and then just point out the location in here.
Okay, so this is just a software for you to activate the external hard drives.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So you don't plug in your USB drive to your EcoLogic, but you plug into a server where that server have access directly to EcoLogic and also Group Manager.
To be exact, sir, it's the host server, right?
I beg your pardon?
On the host server should be plugged in there.
Yes, the host. Yeah. All right. So you click finish and then OK, and then you will see a light bulb icon, right? That means it's still waiting for the first replication to occur. What you have to do is carry that hard drive to your secondary site, and then plug that hard drive to your server, and then make sure you have MTU as well installed on your host, where that host is connected to your DR EcoLogic, and then bring up Group Manager. Inside Group Manager, if you click on Action, you will see there is a replica waiting to happen. You click Manual Transfer Utility. It will bring up the MTU, and then click on Start Data Load. And then what you need to do, you point your external hard drive there, and then make sure you have iSCSI communication, then start the transfer. Okay. After the transfer finish, it's completed, and you have your first replication happens. So after your first application is finished, then the only next replications is going to happen is only the delta changes. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Let's look at replication collection. So replication collection is similar to the volume collection, where you actually create a simultaneous replica on a volume collection. Okay, so this is again typical for SQL, all the database where you have transaction logs in here, just the logs file itself, and the database. So you want use a set of a volume set and perform replication at the same time. Now, this is really important going back to our previous slides about ASM, okay? Because we want to make sure we have an application aware snapshot. Okay, that's where ASM is really useful in here. Right, so data recovery using replica. There are a couple of ways you can do it. First, clone the replica. When you clone it, because what's going to happen is if you don't clone it, you can't actually use the clone volume or attach that clone volume. Sorry, you cannot actually attach that replica volume to a host. Okay, you need to actually clone it or make it as promote it as a volume before you can utilize that replica volume so you can extract information out of it. So let's have a look at our lab. Okay, so in here, if we go into DR and then we click on replication, you will see that it's showing as a thin provision volume. And again, a replica volume is always thin provision, never use thick provision. And then if you're looking at in here, there is no volume, which means you cannot set up any access list at all. Before you can actually use this replica volume, you need to promote or you need to clone. That's the only option you can do before you can use that replica volume.
So what's the difference between those two? So promote and cloning.
Okay, so promote, it will be moved from the inbound replicas to volume. If you clone, that means you will have another volume sitting. Okay, so I can name it test. Right. Next. None. Next. Next. Finish. Right. So I have a volume in here. But if I look at my replication, it's still there.
Okay.
But if we actually, I can delete this volume and it's still there. Set offline, yes. And then you delete volume in here. But if you promote this one, it will disappear.
Okay.
Okay? So you will see in here, it's no longer there. If you want to revert it back, what you need to do, you need to demote to replica set. So it's going back to inbound replica, and then you can actually move it back if you want. Okay?
What happens if you permanently promote it?
Sorry?
If you permanently promote it, then you can't bring it back.
You cannot bring it back. So if you permanently promote a volume from a replica, you cannot actually bring it back because it's permanent. So the only way you can bring it back is by doing a fresh replication to your primary site. Okay?
What are the limitations of a temporary?
There's none.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so this is the option. This is fast failback. Okay. So you have 12 p.m., 6 p.m. hidden snapshot, 12 a.m. hidden snapshot. You have your source volume there, and then this is all your replica. Pretty much it tracks down the changes, okay? So all the hidden snapshot is to make sure that only the changes happens. So if, for example, your primary site is down, then you actually promote your replica, and then it tracks the changes from there.
Cool.
Right. And then it will basically sync back only the changes to your source. From there, going back to up. Okay, so this is consideration of promoting replicas. All right. Yep, we already covered that. Temporary promotion, or if you wanna, you can select keep ability to demote to replica set option. Failback selected. Okay, and then you can fail back a recovery volume from a secondary to primary, even if you do not configure the primary to save a failback snapshot. Okay, so if you don't save the failback snapshot, you still can go back to primary, but everything will be replicated. All right, so you basically it will take more time. So this is the reason why you wanna promote your volume, because it's a temporary unavailable. So promote volume. We've seen that. Yep. Next. Next. And that's it. Okay. We've seen this before on our lab. All right, that's the end of module. We'll do a quick review, and then I will give the time back to you so you can do your labs, okay?
Okay, sir.
So what is asynchronous replication?
Is it automatic synchronization?
Sorry?
It's automatic, right, sir?
Not automatic, is just a point in time copy, okay? So remember, this is a point in time, asynchronous. You have your volume at 10 a.m., right? So that particular volume at 10 a.m. will be replicated across to your DR. And at DR, the information that you have is only a volume at 10 a.m. It's not 10 past 10, even though it takes about 1 hour to replicate across, but the information is only at 10 a.m. Okay, that's why it's a point in time copy.
Okay, sir.
Next, how do you set up reciprocal replication partnership between the two groups? Reciprocal is both ways. What is important?
Configure the group, uh,
Number one is the
The
partnership.
group partnership.
partnership, yep, that's always, you need to have a partnership even though you have a single replication. If you have a synchronous replication, you still need partnership. But if you want to have this and this, what do you need?
The space also.
Sorry?
Like login.
Login you still need.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned, even if you have a single or one-way replication, you need to have partnership. Okay, just remember my analogy when you have, before you can start trading, you still need to know each other, right? But what do you need so you can actually trade both ways instead of only one way? What is really important, we discussed that earlier, is delegated space. Okay, so if you have a primary and you have your DR in here, if you have only delegated space in here, you can only do this way, right? But if you have delegated space in both sides, you can do two ways. Okay,
Okay.
so next question. What is meant by one-way, reciprocal, and centralized replication? So what's the difference between the three? This should be very, very easy for you.
Models application.
So one-way is pretty straightforward.
Okay, reciprocal
From
two-way.
primary to DR. So you have, and then you have two ways, reciprocal, right?
Okay.
And what about centralized?
One location for central repository of
Correct, very good. So you have multiple sites in here pointing to the same location. Okay, so that is at the end of module 7. All right, so we will stop here so you can continue your lab. I would like you to finish Up to lab number.
Okay. Finish it.
Lab 10. Okay. So I would like you to finish up to lab 10.
Sir, can we use two computers for the
You can.
laboratory?
That's fine.
Okay.
So you can use station 1 and station 2.
Okay. So this will be group 1 then group 2.
Malakas kami eh.
Ay, so unfair.
If you need 3,
Ay,
go for it as well. Okay?
Yeah,
Buta naman
3.
yung dalawa.
Okay. Okay, we'll send.
Butaw daw tayo.
So use station 1, 2, and 3.
Yep, thank you.
Si Alan na pala.
As long as you don't use station 6 because we have someone using it right now.
Yung dalawa. Para
Thank you po.
All right.
Alright.
Richard, I'm gonna put myself into mute. In case you have any questions, just click raise hand or yell out, and I'll help you out. Okay?
Sir, a question.
Sure.
Opo, sir, can you provide us a soft copy of the slides?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you so much, sir.
No problem.
Forward na lang. So, yung group 1 dito, group 2, group 3. Para lahat na papa. So, wala mo way joke.
Kasi, kaya naman. Hindi, saan ba tayo nag-record?
Stop mo muna yung recording or
Diretso na, stop mo na.
recording na yun. Isa sa ano natin.
Paano nag-stop ba yan? Diretso na.
Huwag na lang.
Ano, wag mo siguro, ikaw na lang mag-edit sa mga video,
Oo, yan.
Diretso na lang. Diretso na
Baka
lang.
maputol pa naman.
Okay lah.
Nasaan ba tayo naputol?
Po-forward sa ni, si ba?
Rod.
Ni Rod, yung
Sure.
email, yung
Okay. Sino ka? Ah, sorry.
tatlong groups.
So, I'll check my email. Wait. And here we go.
Ito. Dalawa kayo nilod na muna ako manonood niya. Tulog ako.
Ito tutulog.
Sino kaya ito? Tululaway pa.
Okay, sige, tulungan kita matulog.
Dami. Kaya ako gawa ng kaya natin. Sabi ko, hindi ko kaya. Kahit ilang segundo lang. Hindi lang ako sandali.
Parang
Huli eh. Babutay na nga kita, naka-ready na yung pambato ko. Dumilat ka lang bigla eh.
Ganun.
Nagpapaprint pala. Kaya inaklaan si Joshua. Kaya naman o. Napangusgan lipunan kayo.
Oo, yun eh.
Sinabi nila sa akin. Ikaw lang kasi hinap eh.
Sir, anong email address mo, sir? Or
Wala
email mo?
naman wala akong laptop siya na lang eh. Siya na
Ano
mag-hire.
may PDF iba ako kaya doon.
Yan yung
Ito
laptop
ako
siya.
yung knowledge eh. Pinakikala mo lang yung ano.
Ano ko tsura sa
Yan yung laptop siya.
Alam ko password niya.
Sino?
Yan.
Tinggal.
Oh,
May
ay,
sabay
naku.
ko. Yun yung status sa Skype ko eh.
Tapos yung Skype mo?
Yung Colossians 3:23. Password niya.
Forward ko lang sa inyo. Okay.
Yee. Para kanya talaga yan. Lagi niya
Tapos
puro.
mag-message siya sa sarili niya na.
I love you na.
Ang loser.
Ginagawa-
Walang speaker lang, tulog. Delay yung diretso talaga.
Yes, sir.
Sir, pa-forward mo ulit.
Straight pa lang yan siya.
Tapos, sige lang.
Straight na.
Ah, nandito pala.
Isa pa kayo ngayon sa
Straight gago.
Ay, hindi ako nagsabi.
Dalawa si John.
Email mo, sir.
Christopher.
Ah,
Yun ba? Tatlo ba?
CH. Hindi, sir, kailangan, yan ako rin sa inyo. CH.
K.
Ulit.
Kung
KR.
sa meron ako
KR.
sa zero.
KRS.
Eh,
KRIS.
KRIS.
Okay.
Christopher.
C-O-S-S.
Ano ba?
T-O.
T-O-W
Double F.
Double F-E-R.
Christoph
Okay. This is the link, guys. You can copy it now.
Dito.
at
Live sessions.
Christopher.
may surname pa yun.
E-R. Christopher.
Sir, patay ka lang.
Sir, kindly login.
Ay, nandun yung ano. Ay. Ano pong
Dito login, sir.
Tama ba na?
For this one. So, we'll access the station. Station
Diba
1.
nasa email? Kahapon.
Ito yata. Yung nandito sa email, yung press EQ2.
Hindi yan ata.
Ito yata.
Hindi sa
So, ito yung arrangement, accommodation.
Ano ito?
Yan.
This is the acknowledge.
Enter your name, email, and password. This one, sir.
Okay.
But the email, I don't know.
We will inform you once already.
Or ito. Steward?
Ay, hindi yan. Patingin nga. Ano yung ba ito?
Mga panghusga, mga judgmental.
Sir, patype na lang ang email mo dito, sir.
Ito? Same lang to.
Word.
Oh.
Sir, patype na lang din. Email mo ko, sir.
Sip, yung sip, huwag kang umate. Umate sip eh. Huwag na ka na yun.
Na-open mo na.
Ay,
Hindi
hindi.
pa, sir.
Yan.
Open mo siya. Username.
Hindi pa kailangan.
Username.
Meron yung ano, RR2.
Shell account.
Ayun yung ba yun? Ito yata. RR.
Saan ba yun, sir?
Nandun sa yung in-email ko kanina.
Check. So, what?
Yung first attachment. Parang wala kang PDF.
Ito ba yan? Ito, sir, di ba? So, wala yung details. Ay, ito to.
Hindi yan. Ito. Ito yung mismong PDF. RR. Ito.
Wait. Nakita ko na. Ito.
Ayan. Ito ka first. Ito first na yan. Then, ang password mo is...
Hindi pala na-edit.
Ito yung nasa notepad.
Matagal na sila sa
Send ko na yan.
10:20. O, yan, 20 minutes.
Sir, email mo din para meron kang ano.
Ito yung set.
RG.
Para may reference ka din.
Space lang.
Yung management.
Master class. Holland. Cellphone.
Kamaya.
Password, sir?
Pero nga mo.
Hindi yung...
Ang password yata yung nandun sa...
Nasa document din.
Alright. Hirap na mag- kasi talaga.
Ito yung ano. Hindi yung papadudol.
Gipo-gipo.
Because may team pero.
Ito, sir. Dell.
Parang yan. Dell APG. Ayan, send ko na sa inyo yung attachment and then open.
Okay.
Gano'n ko ganyan.
Let's go.
Hindi mo ba yan? Baka mga siya. Basta
Error. Cannot login, sir.
kasi may version mo. Kasi hindi na ako. Kahit yung schedule mo siya. Hindi mo nakalimutan siya.
Tayo kayo yun na.
Sir, nakalagin ka na?
Oo, yun na pa.
Ito yung password, oh. Then, ito.
Oo nga eh.
Wait lang,
Si
sir.
Yannick.
Nasa email pa.
Yung ano yung username nandun sa
Wala pa ako
mismong
ano eh.
tanggap nyo.
Ako wala.
Hindi pa. Ito pa.
Natanggal niyo yun? Natanggap niyo yung email ko?
Wala naman
Yes.
ganun sa either. Sa
Sir.
switch.
Wala.
Wala.
Seryoso.
Switch.
Mali yung case, sir. Walang case yung kakasunod.
Sa akin?
Yung mali. Service.
Yung switch lang wala, yung iDrop lang. Yung switch lang wala.
leon@acosolution.com.
Solutions.
May S?
Solutions.
Apo.
Solutions.com.
Pati yung kay
Pinapos.
Dapat at PH ka lang.
PH.
That maniac.
Kaya mo.
That maniac.
Steve Kenat.
Alam na galawan mo talaga dun. Alam na.
Hindi ko pa nakikita si Eugene ulit eh. Wala pa ako source eh. Pag nandiyan si Eugene, may kwento na naman yan.
Pag may kinuwento si Eugene at wala ako doon, saan ang gagaling yung kwento niya?
Putik. Nandun alam mo talaga yung nagalawan.
Tumigil ka, Alan. Kung meron mo sana dito si Senyor pagdating mo.
Uy, kaya ko na mo kita like up mo. Isang buwan na yun.
Oo, mo po. Kunyari ka pa eh.
Gusto mo lang puntahan talaga.
Ito yung
Magawa mo kaya ano? Kaya
Sa'yo ba talaga?
Wala tayo.
Hindi. Yung username niya.
Papadaanin niya na lang sa nangyayari yan.
Ang galing mo siya.
EQL.
Rico lang talaga yung ano.
Ba?
Yung Rico lang pa. Wala siyang surname, yung Rico.
Gate ng ayos rate.
Mas Rico?
Wala na, hindi
Sir.
nakasaksak.
Sir, wala pong surname ng Rico.
Ako, na-receive ko na yung sa akin, sir.
Tanggalin ko na dito.
Yung sa kanila lang yung mali.
Wala. Papalipat ko na kasi sa
Ayan,
number
send.
1 nga.
Yung iDrop lang yung
iDrop switch nga.
Yung
Dahil sa
desktop.
kasi
Wala mapili sa akin, sir.
Yung sa lab.
nasa Skype kaya, no?
Sa nabi.
Sinita ko.
Hiramay ko lang yung ito.
Walang apelido. Sir, hindi mo also eh. Tension niya na kayo. Hindi na ako pinagalitan. Kaya nang ligo eh.
Guys, ito yung yung binigay ko sa inyo na laboratory. Ito yung username nyo.
Sir, hanggang kailan yan? Effective.
Hindi ko sure. Siguro hanggang Wednesday. Ito, 1, 2, 3.
Research na gumagamit lang.
Okay. So, ito yung username. So, yung number 2 and 3. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay, then ang password nyo is eto, yung $sign, number. So, yung IP address ng ano natin,
Parang
yung
ganun yan.
array 1, eto. Sorry, number 2. So, yung pangalawa, ito yung IP address nyo. Yung pangatlo, number 2, sabat naman number 3.
1, 2, 4 lang.
Binary.
Station.
1, station 1, station 2, ito station 3. So ito yung IP address nyo. So ito yung host number 1, ito yung saan natin yung server number 1, server number 2. Ito yung group IP address, member 1, IP address, group 2. Okay, so bakit kailangan ng dalawang group? For replication. So hindi pwedeng single group lang. So array 2 siya yung second array. So first natin is to configure yung start na kayo sa lab first.
Lab natin.
Kahit ano nyo lang, basta ma-identify nyo yung, usually yung lab 1 dyan is familiarization lang naman ng mga ng navigation ng GUI.
Still cannot.
Kahit hindi nyo nasagutan or something, basta at least familiar kayo doon.
Ano na? Ano password na? Ba't ako mag-direct sa email?
Username is RR. Yung nandito ito, ito yung magiging username nyo, yung RREQL2 SE.
Password? Del, nandiyan dyan wala ba? D3, LL.
D3? 1A yata. Ano ito? Ano ba?
1A yan sir, di ba?
Oh, 1A.
Yung E3.
Oo. Nandiyan sa PDF eh.
Oo.
Tutuwa mo yung
Nakapormin naman dun sa
ito, di ba?
I-refresh mo pa yung bagong.
Saan yung ano? Yung bagong ito eh.
Ano ba yun?
Kanti.
Hindi yan.
Nakapunta eh.
Kaya natin. Hanggang sa may ano.
Yung password sir, yung ano di ba? Yung bell na ano. Para makalagin ka dito sa...
Yep. Mr. Lucky. Tama. O, try ko mag-login sana. Sa number 4. Number 5.
Isa ayaw gumawa ng ano.
Yan, ito ito.
Doon daw kayo. Ayaw gumawa ng love. Ayaw na. Start na lang.
Start na lang.
Kaya yung ano mo. Ano mo USD talaga oh.
Uy, ako, quarterfinals kayo ah.
Painin lang mo naman.
Wala na nga akong alam sa ano doon eh.
Inabot pa
Pasok
rin
nga
sa
daw eh.
UJP, si ano pa kaya, Dennis Espino po eh.
Oo.
Mga,
All this si Big Pablo. Yan ba rin?
ano? FPU, siya mga bariyenta.
Kinabit niya yun eh. Tanong. Medyo pa lang.
Gagi, inabot niya si Pilo. As player.
Si Barela daw.
Ayaw pa rin sir. Ayun, tama naman sa akin.
Ba't ganun?
Anak ng tete.
Durgash, no?
Ito ang ginamit ko.
ID.
Yung number 2.
Ah, wait. May mali.
Quality, yun o.
Pala eh.
Buwa ka dyan.
Okay sir.
Chris.
Diyan ka, huwag kang ma'am.
Yan.
Feeling
Oh, ito ka na.
Ayaw mo oh.
Round drop. Hindi na.
Round drop. Oo.
Susi siya, no?
Huwag kailangan matapos yung lab ha. Okay. Kasi may ano yan.
May grade na. May price daw to.
I-price daw. Ball pen.
fresh ice.
Guys,
Uy,
you need to
ano
work
dun?
on the lab.
Sir.
Eh, dalawa kayong Joseph. Oh.
Nag-umpisa pa lang.
O sige, kahit...
Kasubok nga.
Oh, yan.
Maglagi ka muna, may set
Try
try
lang.
yun eh.
Kaya mo yan doon.
Tumigil ka dyan.
Ano yung maisipin mo na si Sige nagpapa-exam? Kailangan mo ano.
Sige.
May inspired ka eh.
May inspired?
Tapos kanali ka tayo si Yani Pichara.
Dali mo dito yung donation box para makatotohanan.
Ay, no. Diyos ko. Nangyari doon?
Nagpapakul mo na naman sa...
Ano, hindi ka pa nagtutuloy.
Ay, wala.
Paano mo yung mangyayari?
Okay.